Hello guys, just a quick sort of, I suppose, pre-video bit before you start with the main video that I recorded yesterday. This is Wednesday the 1st of July now, I'm speaking to you now, and I recorded what you're about to see yesterday on Tuesday, the last day of June, basically. The topic, as you will see, for the main video is about universal credit and PIP. In the video coming up, when I'm talking about universal credit, I specifically talk about the fact that universal credit benefit sanctions and claimant commitments had been suspended by the Tories, the government, from the beginning of lockdown. Just found out today, Wednesday the 1st of July, that the Tory, don't want to swear, have reinstated it today. So, despite what I say later in the video, I'm just telling you now, remember this: benefit sanctions, if you're a universal credit claimant or about to claim universal credit, I've already been claiming universal credit in the past. From today, as far as I understand, your claimant commitment to look for work each week, and to 35 hours each week, or what you've, to prove what you've done to look for work, and sanctions, benefit sanctions, if they're not happy that you've done enough or are doing enough, are being brought back in today. It's not good news. It's bloody awful news, to be honest. And for me too, because I've usually sods law for me. You'll see the video. I've just signed on. I've just started my claim at the end of last week for this summer period until I go back to start back at university in September, end of September. So I'm now in the same boat as you if you were about to claim or are claiming. I've started my claim and I'm going to be subject to the same stuff again now, benefit sanctions, looking for work that was hardly there in the first place. And now, of course, the whole point is there's less and less of it because of the economic crisis, and there's 2.5 million or more people, new claimants since lockdown began, who've never who are on universal credit, who've never had to go through the claimant commitment benefit sanctions part of this. So this is gonna be hell for a lot of people. Homelessness is going to go up. Child poverty is going to go up. Hunger, food bank referrals are going to go up. There's no question about this. I'm afraid suicides are going to go up. Premature deaths from the stress of all this are going to go up. This is what happened. This is what's been happening since 2011, unnoticed, unreported by the media. So all we can do is support each other, support one another. So yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure you had the information before you watch the rest of this. Yeah, it's quite a long video, so you might want to watch it in a few sections. Listen to me prattling on for ages. Anyway, so see you next time. Take care, and please do leave comments. Please do subscribe. Please share this video to anyone that you might know, family or friends who are about to claim, having to claim, might be losing their jobs now. After the furlough scheme's sort of been ended. Yeah, please do share this so that they sort of know what's happening, what's coming with universal credit. Okay, stay safe, take care, and enjoy the video. Bye guys. Hello, I'm alive. I'm still alive. I'm still here. Yeah, it's been 2 weeks, more than 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks since I uploaded my last video, made my last video review, my lockdown review. So this will be a 2-in-1, 2 for 1. This will be 2 weeks, 2 weeks of lockdown vlog for one video, So this will be for weeks 13 and 14. Week 14 has just passed. This is Tuesday today. Of course, lockdown was called on the Monday. 14 weeks ago. So, yeah, 3 months now. 3 months. I'm starting to look like the wild man of the woods. I just realised I tend not to look in mirrors really, if I can help it. Apart from the first thing in the morning, unless I want to wash my face and clean my teeth. But yeah, I've just realised doing this, looking back at myself now doing this, that I need a bit of a. I need to get the hedge trimmer out and sort of defoliate myself. Yeah, is that right? Defoliate. Yeah, I'm still alive. I am here. It's been a while. Again, it's been a while because it's just been so busy. People seem to want me, which is nice. Want to talk to me, contact me, have meetings with me over this Zoom thing now, which has taken over all sort of, seems to have taken over sort of video conferencing and meetings and just chats with my mates. So I've been doing all the sort of stuff on local radio. Oh God, at least a few times. At least, well, yeah, got 2 or 3 times at least now. Over the period, talking to all my mates that I can't see in person, of course, because I'm still shielding. Loads of. I've got my PhD work. I've been trying to do that sort of events of. Yeah, there's been sort of slightly different events happening over the 2 weeks that have just gone. I've had to put my PhD stuff on a bit of a back seat because now we've hit the summer periods, the period between the end of the academic year, which is always the beginning of June, up until the beginning of my second year on the PhD, which doesn't start until the end of September. The plan was, what I was supposed to be doing, forgive my hair, it's gone all sort of floppy and fine. I've washed it this morning with some nice conditioner. It's gone all sort of unmanageable. Yeah, what I was supposed to be doing, and what I tried to sort out before the lockdown and shielding started, was right now I should be in schools, local high schools and things, starting a new teaching assistant job with one of the teaching assistant supply agencies, in the area. And of course, but this has put pay to that, so I've been forced once again, second time now, in the last 2-3 years, to sign on to universal credit. So I've had to spend quite a frustrating entire afternoon trying to do that, which came with its own problems. Turns out that if you've already had a universal credit account, because you have to do it's all on the computer, all on account, on an account, government account for the DWP. If you've had one before, it says you can't create a new one with the same email address, but then gives you a little link below to carry on claiming anew. But then but keeps kicking you out actually. So you can't claim anew with the same account. So I had to go through, after 3 times of trying to do this, and it's saying it would let you do it and then wouldn't. I've had to set up a whole new email account just so that I can open up or restart another claim. So finally got that done towards the end of last week. Also last week, because I've applied for PIP as well, because of my state of my health, and I can't work at the minute because of lockdown, because of my state of my health, apart from trying to do a bit of part-time teaching assistant work, but now I can't do that. So applied for PIP. A long time ago I applied actually. Had my phone assessment, because of course it'd usually be face to face. You'd have to go somewhere usually to an assessment centre. So I had my over the phone assessment by Capita and a so-called medical professional. I mean, I've been here before with all this. If you've done it, you know about these medical professionals in Capita and all this supposed assessment crap. Well, I'll get into that in a minute. And that basically, I've got a sort of a no. So now you have to do something called a mandatory reconsideration, or ask for that, where they just say no again. This is all game playing by the DWP. It's all it is, complete game playing. It's meant hurdle after hurdle after hurdle to put you off applying, basically, to make it so difficult you just give up. That's the game from their end. Has been for years, still is. Even with all this going on, it still is. And then after you've had a mandatory reconsideration where they say, okay, I'll just stop recording again. It keeps doing this. In full flow, it just stops recording for some reason. Anyway, as I was saying, after this mandatory reconsideration thing, then you can appeal, where you get an actual independent judge, basically, to assess what. But that's just. I mean, this is what I'll talk about today. I mean, yes, I could talk about what's going on in the news with the bloody Tories and the Welsh Labour government and the bloody Labour with Starmer and that pathetic that's been. There's no sort of a government, there's no one holding government to account, the media aren't bothering, there isn't an opposition, there isn't a Labour Party anymore, hasn't been for a long, long time, let's face it, but now it's just back to full bloody Blairism. Give it a quick appraise, I suppose. I mean, to be honest with you, in weeks 13 and 14, and even before that, I don't know, you've had enough, haven't you? I've had enough of the news. I've had enough. I don't watch it really anymore. It's all the same, Government's doing nothing. More deaths, failure. No, we're doing brilliantly. We're exceeding expectations. We're doing a fantastic job. Head buried in the sand. No one's holding them to account. There are no journalists left in the media anymore who actually do their jobs and hold people to account. Same with, like I say, with Labour and any sort of supposed opposition. So I don't bother. What's the point? I just raises my blood pressure. I just get cross. What's the point? I'd rather speak to you. You know what I mean? I'd rather speak to you and do the things I do and try and sort of look after myself and my family and hope you guys are well and find out about you and how you're doing. So that's been the news stuff. Rebecca Long Bailey being kicked out. No, she's in the Labour Party, but being kicked off the shadow front benches for a retweet of what was it? Gone blank names again. The actress's name is it Maxine Peacock, something like that. Big, not big surprise. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, today I want to talk about, as I've just been doing them, like I say, over the past couple of weeks to month or more than that with PIP actually, about universal credit and PIP. Now, I did a universal credit sort of survival guide thing over 3 months ago, actually not long before lockdown was called and all of that, where at the time sanctions were still in force, being enforced for universal credit claimants when there were less of us, so you could still get sanctioned then if they felt, the DWP felt that you weren't doing enough to try and find a job, or you hadn't followed your work coaches' instructions and all this sort of stuff. You can be sanctioned for many, many reasons. Missing an appointment, or being late for an appointment, missing an appointment, all this sort of stuff. Anyway, those were suspended. They would, let's be honest, unlike the Tories and Theresa Coffey, who was the Tory DWP minister at the time, at the minute, I mean, the reason they lifted the sanctions was they knew, and that's what happened, all of a sudden, millions of people that had lost their businesses, lost their jobs, suddenly were having to apply for universal credit. So the universal credit system which was pretty inadequate and low grade in the first place, and of course now all on computers, all online, and the government's record with setting up large computer system just doesn't work, or costs a fortune and then doesn't work. They thought, well, pardon my French, shit, we can't have benefit sanctions for millions of people. There'll be civil unrest. We'll be absolutely, we'll be found out. They'll find out what we actually do to people that were hitherto marginalised, ignored. Were sort of poverty porn fodder on Benefit Street, etc., and all those sorts of things, Jeremy Kyle and all that sort of thing. Well, now it's not just the scroungers, is it? Now it's on benefits. It's normal people working, and of course, because the whole point it always was. All this scrounger shit was a right wing, Tory, hateful, anti-working class, anti not rich people like them narrative, of course. So anyway, so since then, on universal credit, as far as I understand at the minute, sitting here now, benefit sanctions are still well, at least put on hold. I don't think they've been scrapped. I think officially they've just been suspended for now. Although I can't see how they're going to reintroduce them for millions of people now on universal credit without massive, a massive lashback, basically. But then who knows with our media anymore, So that's changed. Obviously, there's a little bit more as well, because they didn't want, suddenly again, you got all these millions of people joining, claiming for universal credit, who have been told for years and years on things like Benefit Street and by the Tories and by the sort of media that, the Mail and the Sun for years on the front page, that you sign on and you can get money for anything, money for nothing, as Dire Straits, as Mark Knopfler used to say, money for nothing and your chicks for free, and loads of it, we've got these £1 million houses, benefit claimants, and, we've got 10 kids, you've got, all the money for thousands and thousands, you'd have to work for another. Of course, it was total crap. It was complete crap. And all of a sudden, millions of people who perhaps never claimed universal credit or job seekers or anything like that, suddenly have stark reality and now actually finding out for themselves that actually all you actually get as a single person, single claim on universal credit is about, was about 73 quid a week to live on. That's obviously without housing benefit. If you're claiming housing benefit, that's a different component. But universal credit, the single person claim, 73 quid a week. That's it. That was the same on JSA before, which it replaced. There's not all this extra stuff you can apply for. It was total crap. In fact, when they went from JSA to universal credit, you couldn't even get apply for the budgeting loans anymore, which you pay back. It's a loan, which you were getting on JSA. You can now, I believe. I think a discretionary loan, actually. It's not a budget, it's a discretionary loan. So what happened was they thought, well, millions of people are now going to find out that was all a lie, all that stuff. You get all this stuff thrown at money thrown at you and all this sort of stuff. You only get 73 quid a week. So of course they did a sort of a half-hearted attempt at making it better by boosting it to 20 quid more a week. So now you get about 90 quid a week. So that's changed from my previous video on universal credit. If you're about to have to claim, or if you're having to if you're having to claim anytime soon, if you're just claimed, started your claim, what I'd say is, again, my top tip is make sure you log into your universal credit account daily, every day, because the whole point is you don't get letters sent to you anymore. It's all done online on your account. So any messages from your job coach, anything you're supposed to look at as far as jobs, because they do send you jobs to look at, or they think you might want to apply for, or just tasks to do. It's called this sections. It's to do an actual to do part of the account. You have to do certain tasks, sometimes by certain dates or certain times on certain dates. If you don't do them, that's not following an instruction from your work coach, you could be sanctioned. There was a classic example of when universal credit rolled out in the neighbouring county here, Flintshire, where an older gentleman, this is when they were trialling universal credit here in this area, had been put on universal credit. Of course, I don't even know if he had a computer, couldn't use computers, didn't have a clue what how to log into anything, sign into anything, or even if he had an account. Really, I don't think he just had no idea. There's a lot of older people don't. And what happened was, for the next weeks and months, all of these tasks piled up in his account, which he knew nothing about because he wasn't accessing an account. His account, he didn't know how to. Hadn't realised it's all done on the account. And of course, he was getting sanction after sanction after sanction for not complying with the instructions from his job coach. So he was right royally beat. But this is what happens, So yeah, that's my top tip: is make sure you're on top of, what's going on. Excuse me. You know what's going on with your own account. Don't get caught out that way. I seem to get quite a few when you first create your account. You asked if you want to get notifications via sort of messages on your phone or email. I think I've chosen this time messages on my phone, so you get a text message sometimes, so look out for those, don't ignore them. Often it's an 0800 number. If you're phoned and you missed a phone call, that can be your job coach too. Wants to talk to you about this or that, arrange a meeting, that sort of stuff. So that's universal credit at the minute. Those are the changes so far from since before lockdown to now, 3 months in. Now PIP, this is the big one I want to talk about. I don't think I've done a specific PIP vlog video on the channel before. Could be wrong, but I don't think I have. So PIP, well, this is my first time ever applying for PIP. I know all about PIP because when PIP was rolled out here in Denbighshire and North Wales, 5-6 years ago, I was advising. I've been advising for more than a year and a bit, training and advising with the Citizens Advice Bureau here. So I was a general advisor basically, but most of the stuff you get would be benefits related. The vast majority of stuff. So when you go in each day, volunteer, you go in each day, and you'd get at least one PIP, at least one ESA application appointment, where people are coming to see you. They made an appointment to see you to come and get help filling out an ESA application form, ESA 50, or a PIP application form. So when PIP was rolled out, PIP exploded basically. So almost all of the daily stuff was forms wise was PIP. It overtook ESA quite, really for a time. So I was going in there, it'd be sort of a mixture of 3 ESA PIP, mostly PIP claims basically, or appointments for that day, which takes a lot of time because you're meeting people you haven't met before. Usually, obviously, if it's PIP, like you say, they're ill, If it's PIP, they might be very ill. You'd have people with terminal heart disease, terminal cancer come to you. Now that's disgusting because the rules are, the law I believe is that if you've got a terminal disease, cancer, heart condition, whatever, you're not supposed to have to go through all of the forms and the sort of waiting and the man recons and all this sort of stuff. But they were still making people do it. It was still happening. They were still making it as difficult as possible. And remember that. This is what I'm going to get back to. So, yeah, I've been acquainted with PIP applications, ESA applications, for years. I've lost count. I've lost count. I couldn't tell you how many particularly PIP applications I've done while I was an advisor at the CAB here, and even since, I've had people people I know, begging me to help them for that. I've done it, and thankfully, as far as I know, almost every single one has been successful, I think, apart from one that I can think of specifically. So that's great. I've been able to help people get what they need to get. But of course, as with universal credit, as with all of the safety net that's supposed to be the welfare system, the benefit system, including the NHS and social care, it's just been completely removed. It's effectively not there for so many people. It's there on paper, but when you come to apply, it's just not. And it's no secret to anyone that tries to do it, particularly with PIP and ESA, the disability benefits. For years, there have been hurdles put in place at almost every single stage of the application process to make it as confusing, to make it as difficult and disheartening as it can possibly be, to just simply to deter people from carrying on with the next stage, because of the stress it causes trying to do it, the upset it causes, the strain on your health. Don't forget, there are some people that are already ill, which is why they're applying in the first place. And sometimes, like I say, terminally ill, but still having to jump through the hoops. So it's absolutely unforgivable. This is not something the government don't know about. They do it. They purposely do it. I'll tell you something, and this is again something you'll not see on the media. I think it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I can't remember now. There was a Freedom of Information request put into the DWP. I think by Danny Dorling, and he was a professor in, I think, Oxford University, and his team, who were researching all of this. The death statistics for people that had applied for ESA, I think specifically, and been put in something called the support group. Because on ESA, if you get it, you're put in either the work group, where you receive ESA, Employment Support Allowance, but you're still required to pretty much do the things that someone who's receiving universal credit's getting doing, i.e. look for work, be available for work, but obviously with adjustments if you're on ESA work group. So the work group is for people they consider have a disability, whatever, mental or physical, but they deem should get better within or after 12 months. The support group is for people who get ESA support group, ESA work group. The support group is for people that have received the ESA but are not going to get, or have been assessed as not going to get better with whatever ails them within 12 months. Excuse me. Still got a bad chest. So they looked into this. How many people on the ESA work group? I think I've got that right. I'm trying to remember now. Is that right? I think it's a work group. Anyway, the group, which was the work group where you're supposed to get better. So they've deemed you're not ill enough to be put in the support group long term. You're supposed to get, according to their assessors, these capita paid in private resourcing companies, with so-called medical professionals and things, that they pay, deem that you're going to get better within 12 months or around 12 months' time. So they want to know, well, how many people that you put into that group didn't get better and or died, actually. So, that's how wrong you got it. That's how unfit for purpose your system of assessment is, Well, it turns out the conservative figure. So this is because I'll tell you what happened was there was a Freedom of Information request put in about this to the DWP. The DWP then spent, I believe, a year in the courts, spending your money, your tax money, in the courts, trying to fight the Freedom of Information request, trying to stop the death stats being published, being made public. I think that's pretty obvious why, because the death stats were even more horrific, the numbers, than I think anybody could have guessed, really. After a year of fighting this in the courts, you wasting your money, the judge ruled that there was no reason to injunct the Freedom of Information request, so it had to be made public. They had to publish it. So they then took their sweet time publishing it, and then published it in the most confusing way. This is what they'd often do, the most sort of unclear, confusing way they possibly could, basically. But anyway, these sort of academic experts sort of teased out what they could make sense of out of the numbers, and as a bare minimum, from 2000 and I think 10-11, when the benefit sanctions and ESA sort of this sort of system of getting capita to sort of assess people and sort of stuff was brought in, and they changed the rules and everything about who could get it, who couldn't get it, the whole sort of application system. It turned out that at a conservative estimate, about 130,000 people had died on the ESA work group since being awarded ESA. These are people that were deemed during assessment that they would be better within 12 months, but they were dead. They died. That's how ill they were. And the whole point, of course, is that they shouldn't have been in the work group. They should have been put into the long-term support group. So people who were that ill, the system is that bad, is that flawed, is that wrong, and they knew about it because they tried to hide the figures. They tried to hide all of this. They spent a year fighting it in court, so you wouldn't have to. You and I wouldn't know about it. So they knew they shouldn't be in that group. They knew they weren't getting the support they were supposed to. They should have had. They didn't care. They didn't care, and it's continued on. I mean, that was 2005. 2015, 16, I think. 16, I think, around there. So these are all figures now. I mean, you're talking about probably hundreds of thousands of people in reality have died after being deemed either fit for work, so they didn't get ESA at all, or were deemed fit enough to be put in the work group and have to work and look for work, basically. So this is how broken it is, and it's not by accident, it's on purpose, because nothing changed after this year-long battle of them trying to hide the figures through the courts. Nothing changed after that. That's why people like me, when after 3 months of COVID lockdown and COVID deaths, we've had sort of 50,000, 60,000 COVID deaths, which is disgusting, because again, they've done nothing to really stop it at all. Nothing. And it's like, nothing to see here, carry on, They're like the mayor in Jaws, where he says, nothing to see here, sharks eating people left, left and right, but nothing to see, everyone come to the beaches. That's what the government are. They're still following herd immunity. They want us all to get it over the years. They couldn't give a toss. So they couldn't give a toss if you're sick or terminal and supported or not through the supposed safety net, which isn't there from so many people. It just isn't there. So anyway, I've had a personal taste of that. I've seen it happen to loads, so many people, I say, as an advisor over the years, as a counsellor. I know lots of people who are still going through their appeals and man-recons now. I'm one of the board members at the local benefits advice shop. There's drawers of appeals there. People waiting for their appeals and help with their appeals from the benefits. We haven't got the people, we haven't got the volunteers, because a lot of people are volunteers. They have to be trained, it's not something you can just walk into. You need to be capable, really willing to do it, motivated. You have to be just a lot of training, because you've got someone's you've almost literally got someone's life in your hands. You know, it's a lot of pressure because it's whether someone and their kids get to eat that day, literally eat that day or that week, is almost entirely down to whether you do a good job or not when they come and see you. It's a huge responsibility. So fantastic if it works well and you can help someone that day. Fantastic, it's wonderful. But a lot of times you meet people you can't help because of the system. Quite often, because of the completely broken system that's there to trip you up and trip them up. So anyway, my advice to you would be, if you're applying for PIP, if you've applied for PIP, if you're going for it, don't get disheartened. The classic old saying, don't let the bastards grind you down, because that's exactly what they try and do. As with everything with this lot, it's a head game, you know? It's a head game. It's easier said than done when you're ill, which is the whole point. It's easier said than done. But don't let them get... I mean, I'll give you an example from what I've just done. I applied, it's from application to my actual phone assessment. Christ, it's been the best part of 6 months, 5 months. I mean, such a lot. I can't even remember when I applied. Actually, it's been such a long time. I think it's about 6 months, 4 to 6, something like that. In fact, I'd even forgotten that I'd applied when I finally got the letter off Capita about my phone assessment. I'd completely forgotten about it, that I'd ever applied for it because it was that long. So they always build in this length, you know, of time where perhaps you're going to sort of give up because it's taken so long to get from the initial step to the next step. And then, of course, in a lot of people's minds, that's especially when it's not the phone thing, and you have to actually go to an assessment centre with these bastards that you know, because you've all read the stories, you know are there not to assess you or help you, they're there to trip you up. You know, there's been many well documented stories of people that have worked in these places for Capita and the other resources as assessors, who tell us that they've been given targets that you don't know about. You're not supposed to know targets about the sort of quota of no matter who they meet and what their sort of ailments are or how ill they are, they're only allowed to let a certain amount of people through, you know. So they what they're supposed to do is in face to face or over the phone, they ask you a set of questions based on they're supposed to be based on your application, your paper application, but it's not really. It sort of is and it sort of isn't. But they'll ask you questions, and they're very sort of they've been trained to be very tricky about it. They're sort of, some will be direct questions, and some will be sort of, they're chatting to you as if they're your friend, or they're concerned, or, you know, like a normal person would. But they're not really chatting to you, because what they're trying to get is, they're trying to get you to say something that they can then twist and misreport. This is the word they use. Say you report, twist your words, misrepresent what you've said. There's a lot of omission. They don't write down what you've said. Also, to make sure you don't get it, basically, that you don't get the points that you should get off the paper-based application, and you should get because of what's what you've got wrong with you, physically or mentally or both. So that's that stage. I've seen it with family members when a so-called ex-doctor came here, sat there for 2 hours talking to a family member. This is trying to get ESA actually. He wrote nothing down for 2 hours. Tried to be all sort of pally. I'm sure you do all this. Do you play this thing that you go? Yeah. Well, no. This family member doesn't go out. He's severely, just ill. Doesn't go out. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't meet anyone. I won't get into probably. This bastard didn't write anything down. A few weeks later, we get the letter back. You scored no points on this and no points on that because you can do this and you can do that. And you didn't tell us about this. You didn't say that. You said you could, but mostly omission because he didn't write anything down. So he'd gone back and made things up that weren't said. He'd gone back and twisted things around to to make it sound like things that were said actually were admissions of something, which they weren't. As I say, mostly like with what I've had with Pip, my Pip doesn't just admitted entire conversations, and that's what I've had basically with that on the phone. I've spent the whole weekend now, yesterday and now again today, writing my sort of rebuttal and reiterating what I'd said on the phone to the so-called assessor from Capita. This is now, you get the letter from the DWP, from their decision maker. You know, they would have an interest in keeping up with them. Anyway, their decision maker, who says, the assessor's evidence, like i.e. what they've written down when you've been talking, when they've been asking questions, they've been chatting to you. So there was no evidence that, for example, that there was no evidence of what's the bloody term? Sorry, I'm trying to think now. The breathlessness or inability to understand things, parts of the conversation, or I mean, I can't remember the term, but I mean, it says something like, bear in mind, mine was over the phone with this person. There's written something like there was no evidence of like physical problems that I've got over the phone. It's just Mad Hatter stuff that you read it and you think. First of all, if you're already stressed out by the whole thing, and then you've had that as well, and it's complete. It has no bearing on what you've just the assessment you've had and what you've told this person, and you obviously the idea is to make you think, well, sod it, I can't bother with this. I'm not going to do this, and even though you're ill, because of the stress of now having to go through the whole next bloody steps and everything, when you get it knocked back again probably, and then on appeal get it, because most people on appeal get it because the whole the whole previous lot of not knocking you back and lying about what you've said or what's in the process was all there to deter you. It was all there to trip you up in the first place, because you get it at the end anyway when an independent assessor looks at it, someone who's not connected with the DWP or Capita, the paid bastards, with their targets. Sorry, I'm letting my temper get the better of me. It's very hard not to. And I'm not talking about just me, I'm talking about for the countless amount of people I've seen go through this and are still going through this. Even now, they've done something about, they've tried to tinker around the edges for universal credit. They've done sod all about ESA and PIP and pensioners and those on attendance allowance or carers allowance. You can all sod off apparently, because there's not enough of you to cause a fuss, and the journalists of this country, the fourth estate, aren't going to pay attention to you, report what you say, report what's happening to you, and they know it, so they get away with it. Again, sorry, tangent, going off on a tangent and anger. So, what I'm trying to get at is, don't let them deter you. If you're about to have the assessment. If you're going to have the assessment, just know it's likely a load of shit. Be warned, they're going to try and catch you out to make you try and to say something or talk about something you do, which they all then write down as you have admitted or reported that you can do blah 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 blah, which you haven't, of course, but that's how they sort of report it. The phrase used a lot is that you reported you could do this, you reported you could that. One of the classic things in mine is she asked me on the phone, this assessor, apparently, according to the letter that I got off the DWP, and I don't remember any of this in the conversation, I don't remember discussing this at all. I think she asked if in normal times when COVID's not on, if I go out and about, and I said, well, this time of year, summertime, because I don't get out actually, summertime, and also obviously all last year with my heart thing I didn't get out, I'd try and, I think she asked about, do I go on holiday? I've not been on holiday for literally 30 years. My last holiday was summer 1990, when I left, which was when I left school with my grandparents. I've not been on holiday for 30 years, literally. Can't afford it. But what I do when I said to her is, if I have the money, if in my pocket, and if the lockdown's not on, I'd usually catch the number 12 bus to Llandudno and go and have a free walk on the pier and then come back home, sort of thing. Well, when I get the letter back from the DWP, it says on it that I reported during the assessment that I can use. I can sit in seats on the bus, on public transport. Oh, and I can get in and out of a taxi unaided, because I think I talked about haven't been able to get out for 3 months. So we've had to have food delivered, from Sainsbury's and that. And my mum's dying to go to Marks and Sparks in the town along, which, if this wasn't on, sometimes she would now and again. And obviously just chatting about it, and I said she'd usually do a taxi, and sometimes I go with her. So she'd added into the thing that I reported also that I could get into a taxi, in and out of a taxi unaided, and therefore, because I could sit in a seat on public transport and get into a taxi, in and out of a taxi unaided sometimes, every once in a blue moon, apparently according to the DWP decision maker from this, that meant that I would, in his opinion, be able to do all sorts of things. All sorts of things have nothing to do with sitting in seats or anything, that's actually because I was able to sit in a seat. It was just, it's absolutely bizarre. It is literal Mad Hatter stuff. If you read the letter, if you're waiting for a letter, and your letter comes back like my letter, first of all, it's written by someone, you think, does this person understand English? Do they write English usually? It's clearly written as confusingly as possible to make it as difficult as possible for you to actually take each point and respond to it for the mandatory consideration, which you have to do, on paper or via email. So that's why it's taken me so long to do it, trying to just decipher the utter nonsensical ways we put together on purpose, another barrier, purposely built a barrier. And then, because most of it's gobbledygook as well, because they don't provide any evidence for why they just completely contradict what you've written down in your application and then have told the assessor, they just say, well, I believe you can do this. No evidence to that fact to back that up. It's just a subjective. This person's decision maker's subjective belief decision. The amount of stuff that this assessor, as I said with my family member years ago, just did not put down at all. So I've got, throughout the letter I got from the DWP, you did not say you couldn't do this, you did not say you couldn't do that, you gave no evidence about this or that. Total lie. Complete lies. So the assessor lied, omitted, twisted what I'd said, misreported, all on purpose. Hand in hand with them, so then they can say all this crap and make it as difficult as possible for you to sort of logically reply to and appeal. But it's all on purpose. It's not you. It's not you. This isn't you. And they're trying to dishearten you. They're trying to put you off. They're trying to make you stop the application. Don't. Because when you finally get to the appeal stage, after the mandatory reconsideration stage, where an independent assessor looks at all of this and looks at your appeal, when you say, actually, I did tell them about this on the phone or in face-to-face, and I did say that, and I didn't actually say that, that's been twisted, and here's my sort of, evidence, this is what actually happens, here's this medication, even though they said I don't take this medication. Also, I've had something in there which says, I can't have one of the elements that I sort of the two main elements of PIP, any points for it, because I have painkillers for my joints in my right hip, knee, and ankle, which I've got medication for from my doctor, but big painkillers. But because I don't take the full dosage 24 hours a day, I'm not allowed any points on that. So basically, what they're saying is, because I don't make myself addicted to the painkillers I've got. Because I don't like just popping pills if I don't have to. I'll put up with the pain sometimes, which I think is perfectly sensible for your health. They'd rather I was addicted to my painkillers and suffer the side effects of taking the full dose 24 hours a day, every single day, every single week of every single month of every single year. Just bizarre. And it's meant to be bizarre. You're not dealing with reason here. You're not dealing with people who want to help you. You're not dealing with people who want you to get what you should be getting to help you live your life. PIP is there to help you live your life if you've got a physical or cognitive, mental disability. It's there to help personal independent payments. You know? For example, I can't really go out, even if it wasn't locked down. Often I can't go out and do the things I need to do because I'm physically just not up to it because of my year-long heart problems. I'm still suffering from fatigue from that. I'm still suffering from the effects on my body of being housebound for a year, not being able to exercise. I've been doing my best before lockdown happened between Christmas and but I'm nowhere. Nothing's really changed. So, for example, one of my days when I go to the university before this, I'd have to go over a bridge, walk over a bridge to get to the train station. Then when I get on the train and then get to Bangor, I have to walk up a massive hill, which I can't do. I need a taxi. I can't afford all this stuff. That's what PIP's for, to try and help you if you've got physical disabilities, even if they're temporary or long-term, to help you live your life and do the things you need to do when you can't afford to. Because the whole point is you're not really able to work either because you're not in a fit state to work yet. And not yet, really. I was going to be forcing myself to try because I didn't have any choice really. But it would have been very sparse, short hours, and I'm not sure it would have worked. To be honest with you, I'm not sure I would have been up to doing it. I was a hope that I'd be up to do it. It was a hope. I wasn't sure I would be able to. On many days, it's pretty clear. No, because I wouldn't be able to. I'm done by midday most days, completely done. So don't get disheartened. It's not you. The bastards are trying to put you off. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Keep heart. Ignore their crap. Do what you got to do. If you need help with your appeal tonight, go to your Citizens Advice Bureau. Even though it may seem stressful, it may seem to be a pain in the arse, and you've got to wait again for something else now. But if you need help, there's people out there to help you. People are getting funded to help you, usually in your area or something like that. Tell me if you've been on PIP and you've been through all this. All of your stories, what's happened to you, ESA as well, universal credit. Please comment down below. Let me know what happened to you, what's happening now, how it's going, and what you think about it all. And yeah, 40 minutes again. But to be fair, this was a 2-week rant. Like I say, in one video really. A 2-week sort of catch up and / rant. So yeah, you're not alone. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of us that have had to go through this, are going through this now still. Don't be disarmed. Don't be put off. It's there. The money's there. The system's there. No matter what's been done to it by these bastards over the last 10 decades. 10 years. 10 decades. 10 years. On purpose. It's still there because you need it. You're supposed to get it. You're not supposed to go through all of this shit. You never used to have to. You never used to have to. But it's run by people for the past decade who don't believe in it. Don't believe you should have it. Don't believe in helping people. I'm afraid the Labour Party is also on that same wavelength. They might give it lip service, but they don't believe in it either. They couldn't give a crap about you either. They'd rather sell it off if they can and pocket the money, for all of it, We're ruled by a ruling millionaire, billionaire elite. Doesn't matter what party they're in, you know, all the mainstream parties. We're ruled by business, big business, the billionaires that run the world, you know. They run everything. You know this, I know this. The Tories, Labour, as it is now, they're all, they're the shop front, they're the front for all these psychopathic, sociopathic millionaires and billionaires. And I think more and more people are understanding that, but unfortunately people like you and me, and the people I try and look hard to represent as a community counsellor, are the ones that have been going through this for years, are hardest hit by it. And now with what's going on with COVID, of course, it's compounded problems that have been there for a long time, and it's hard to see how it's going to get better. But while it's still there, don't get disarmed. Don't let them put you off. And it isn't you. You're not mad. It's them. It's them. Okay? So look after yourselves. You look after yourselves, and I mean that. Please comment down below. Let me know what you think. Subscribe if you like to support the channel. Please subscribe. Share this wherever you want to share it. It's not just about me talking to you. I want to hear from you about what's been happening to you and how you are and how these things have affected you or your families. Yeah, take care. I'll see you next week. Maybe with a different, well, yeah, it will be a different topic, but maybe try and think of something interesting to say each week. And get my hair under control of this. Can't wait for this to get cut. I don't know, should I cut it? I don't know. People keep saying to me, don't cut it. I don't know. This needs going anyway. Bit of a trim. I'm getting grey bits now. Getting the old mid-40s grey there. I don't know. Anyway, take care. See you next time. And ciao for now.